Just 18 days until the election, and both candidates are barnstorming the battleground state of Michigan. President Trump will be doing a rally later tonight in Detroit, but he was up bright and early this morning, making a pit stop at Fox and Friends, proving once again that he's a juggernaut when it comes to doing interviews. But Kamala Harris doesn't see it that way. She's pouncing on a new report that claims Trump is too exhausted to continue his media tour. The vice president even using it as a new campaign talking point.
And now he is ducking debates and canceling interviews. Come on. And check this out. His own campaign team recently said it is because of exhaustion. Well, if you are exhausted on the campaign trail, it raises real questions about whether you are fit for the toughest job in the world.
Oh, my. But Trump wasn't going to let Kamala get away with a ridiculous new attack line.
What event did I cancel? I haven't canceled. She doesn't go to any events. She's a loser. She doesn't go to any events. She didn't even show up for the Catholics last night at the hotel. It was insulting. All they are is sound bites. So today I was at Fox and Friends at 7 in the morning. I then went to 2 different other appearances. I then made about 15 phone calls. I've gone 48 days now without arrest, and I've got that loser who doesn't have the energy of a rabbit. I'm not even tired. I'm really exhilarated. You know why? We're killing her in the polls because the American people don't want her. She didn't pass her bar exam. She's not a smart person. She's not a person that should represent our country. I want to see her do a cognitive test because she couldn't ace, because she wasn't born smart.
All right, Harold, so a woman who hasn't done a press conference in 89 days, it's kind of rich for her to claim that Donald Trump is exhausted when he was at an event last night, and this morning I turned on my TV, he was on television.
Look, I saw him early this morning as well. Let me step back for a minute. I hear when the president, and I've heard others talk about Vice President Harris and her being dumb. I don't think she's dumb. You can disagree with her, but I think it's unfair to call her dumb. And if the president thinks that she's not smart, she wasn't born smart. Like, I get some of it's just what the president says and some of it's humorous, but it's not working. I mean, because if it were working, he'd be further ahead, because most people would not want a dumb president. So people are not necessarily believing it. I think I saw this morning on Fox and Friends what I thought was really interesting, Judge. I thought Lawrence Jones had a very interesting piece. He and the former president, went to the Bronx, and he went to a barbershop with the president. And it seemed like a diverse group of people in the barbershop, and they seemed to be open to some of the things that President Trump was saying. Those are the kinds of things, if I were advising President Trump, that I would be advising him to do. The name calling and even some of the things he said about Governor Haley. He needs Governor Haley here then, because the Democrat strategy is pretty straightforward. They're trying to appeal to the Haley voters in some of the key states where she garnered high teen digits or teen percentages in those races. Vice President Harris, she needs to go to a barbershop. I do think the name calling on both sides should cease. And the campaigning and the substance behind that campaigning, I hope that's what proliferates here in the final 17 days of the campaign.
And, you know, Charlie, it's even richer coming from Kamala, who's the woman who covered for Joe Biden, who put a lid on it most mornings at 10 a.m.
She's suddenly an expert on cognitive decline? Where did this happen? It's amazing to me. Yeah. But I do think, obviously, they're playing these sort of head games, which I understand. I don't think it's working. Obviously, they did succeed at getting Donald Trump to take the bait and respond to it, which is all they were looking for. But the idea that Americans are sitting around believing this idea that Trump doesn't do enough interviews, the one thing I think, the vast majority of all Americans, whether you love him or hate him, agree upon is that he does too many interviews. And the idea that you're going to sit here and attack him for not doing enough interviews, it just doesn't. I mean, I get it in politics. If you're going to tell a lie, tell a big lie. But that one just seems like it's a little too big of a lie for people to believe.
You know, Sandra, the whole idea of, Tyrus saying he thought it was a good thing that former President Trump went to a black barbershop. Trump has gone to places where Republicans have never gone before. Whether it's, a black barbershop or, going into Harlem he has done everything. It's like he's not afraid to go in the lion's
And I think
den.
a lot of the election is going to come down to just that. That's why we keep having real people on our program. We find our viewers really want to hear what people on the ground, and especially in some of these key battleground states, what they're saying, and they don't want their vote to be assumed. And they do want to know where she stands on these issues. And we carried that campaign speech she gave that we just played a bit of live during our program, some of it today. And there seemed to be an angry Kamala Harris there. Mm-hmm. She didn't lay out her policies in any further detail. In fact, she repeated a talking point, let's turn the page. She was challenged by Brett in that interview on that. Turn the page. You are currently in the White House. You have been for almost 4 years. This is the economy. This is the Biden-Harris economy. That's the #1 issue for voters right now all over the country. So turn the page from your policy. She's making the case. In the interview with Brett Baer, she said, no, it's from the last 10 years of Donald Trump running for president. Look, I had Dr. Siegel on the program today. We were talking about the stress and anxiety level of the American voter. It is true. It is on the rise. And if you watch that today, you felt it. I mean, that's a real thing right now. And what are we, 15, 16 days out from Election Day? Mm-hmm. Take a deep breath. We've got a long way to go. But yeah, I think it's time for her to really clearly lay out her plans for American voters, because maybe they like the idea of her initially, but if they still don't know what she is going to do for them today, they might look otherwise.
You want to wrap it up, Greg?
Yeah, I don't mind her saying Trump's exhausted or questioning the decline. That's part of the game, but it's the media that parrots that, because the media is also in the same, committed the same crime. They ignored Trump's, Joe Biden's mental decline, his erratic states. But there's a reason her staff has, the highest turnover rate since the Titanic. It's her irritated entitlement. Why do I have to work? She always seems exhausted. Trump is exhausting. He's nonstop. She's nonsense. He's always been doing everything. She finally got it going in the last, week or so, and she's mad. She's resentful that she has to do that campaign stop. She reminded me of every drunk woman in front of a bar raving that her Uber is late. She's just shouting, what the hell's going on? When she's calm, she reminds me of the instructor of a class that your court ordered to take. So she knows she can take her time and do nothing and just rip you apart because you need her signature. She's the person you avoid, behind the counter at the DMV, who, when afforded some authority, abuses it by lording it over you. She's every government bureaucrat whose only mission is to feather her nest and protect her. Is it fiefdom or fiefdom? Come on, Charlie.
I think either one works.
Either one will work.
In this setting.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.